Welcome to Biz Dev Live. This is Cameron Toth, and I'm so excited to bring you the amazing Pat Lorre. No one owns their square like Pat Lorre does, and she will help you own your square today. We are in the Zoom age, the golden age of video conferencing. Are you owning your square? Are you dominating in your zone when you are presenting in a networking event? This is the future. We will be back to in-person meetings, but we'll always have these moments of being on camera, whether it's the full get up with technological innovations, lighting, cameras, computers, or it's simply going live from your phone, FaceTiming with somebody. There are little tips and tricks and ways to focus yourself to make sure it's a good experience, not only for yourself, but for your audience. We're going to get into all that and more right after we come back from the BizDev theme.
BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
Journalist Pat Lorre is also the founder of Headline Productions, a video production agency started in 1996. Pat has lived most of her life in front of a camera. She began her career as a television news reporter and anchor and has appeared on television in the private sector, writing, producing, and hosting various productions for networks and corporations. She interviewed presidents, celebrities, and even Malala. Pat and her team produce segments for network television, corporations, and educational institutions. Pat also directed and produced Cancer Seriously, a full-length feature documentary on breast cancer. Pat considers herself a curiosity expert, and she is very eager to hear your story. Pat's video production company is located on the Connecticut shoreline. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, Pat had just released her online course, How to Grow Your Business with You on Video. She teaches camera-shy people how to show up and shine authentically on video. Pat's book will be released this spring, Own Your Square. It is the must-have guide for anyone who wants to break through and be heard. Pat Lorre is also a professional speaker with the National Speakers Association. In late 2020, she created the Lift Alive show every Wednesday on Facebook Live and LinkedIn Live, featuring topics that will help elevate your personal and professional life. I am so excited to bring Miss Pat Lorre to the show. There we go. Thanks for being with me.
Hello. Hey, Cameron, how are you? I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into this because I think this is a needed conversation. I'm excited for you to have an opportunity to share your story. So tell us what's going on with this book and this Facebook and LinkedIn Live show that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I'm writing a book, which is so cool because all my life I've been a writer for television, right, and video productions. But now I'm putting the print word on the page, and I'm super excited because the book is coming out in about 6 weeks, and it is called Own Your Square. And it's all things how to show up with confidence and shine on video, which you know is so important these days and in the days moving forward. So the book is called Own Your Square. And what I've done is created a show called Center Square, which is going to be on Wednesdays on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. And it's going to feature all things confidence, mindset, messaging. We're going to talk about wardrobe and makeup. We're going to have a little tech talk. I'm going to bring some of my old production friends on, and we're going to be talking about how, little tips and tricks and editing that you can do. And, all things how you show up in this square, because we know that, it's not always easy to put yourself out there. We're not natural born speakers, right? But all of a sudden we have to be. So the show is Wednesdays at noon, Center Square, and it's to coincide with my book, Own Your Square, which is how to show up and shine on video. So that's my latest. I'm working with a book author right now. And so every single day she has tasked me with, you got to write, I've got to write like 3 chapters a week. So I have 30 tips, if you will. And it's a framework of 30 different steps you can take. And by the end, you will have owned your square.
I love that. And I think, right now more than ever before, people being socially conscious of what not only like how to show up, but that they should show up on camera, right, is incredibly important, because I have this line of every company needs to be a media company. You can certainly see that there's companies out there that are taking advantage of it, but there's companies out there that have marketing budgets that have incredible amount of money behind them, and they're not showing up on social, not creating videos, not putting themselves out there in a way to take advantage of all of the free marketing opportunities there are. And then even with, just professionals inside the corporate arena, we're all, more people working from home. Are you promoting your own personal brand so that you can actually take advantage of this moment and the moments to come? A lot of people are enjoying working from home, but are they negatively, impacting their career? Are they elevating their life, right? Are they elevating their personal brand? I want to talk to your personal story. We got Josephine Laurie. I have a feeling you know her. Doing great, Pat. You're awesome. Looking forward to reading your book. Talk to us about why you got into journalism, why you're passionate about this. Please tell us your story.
Thank you. I am so pleased to share with you my story because, I never get the tables turned on me. I'm always the one that's interviewing people. And throughout my entire lifetime, I have interviewed thousands and thousands and thousands of people. First as, a news reporter, and then as during my video production company years. And so I thrive in interviewing people. And that has always been my, modus operandi. But, so rarely do I get the opportunity to tell my own story. So I will tell you that pretty much my entire professional career, I've been in front of the television camera as a news reporter, then starting my video production company, since 1996. And, for many years, I went along and I told all kinds of stories, and I really revel in that for sure. But there came a point in my life where I questioned myself and said, what is the story that I have to tell? And it was a really difficult time because I had just finished the breast cancer documentary, Cancer Seriously. And it was an intense project. It was a 5-year project and took many years to complete after we stopped filming. But I was sort of like, I think, remembering all the stories and all the people and all the messages and all the sound bites. And it sort of piled up on me. And I used to walk in the field with my dog, Bucky. And every day I would ponder, what is my story? What is my purpose? What is, what is it that I have to share with the world? What is my value? And so I didn't know what that was. I thought that was just jumping on to the next story. But then I did a lot of inside work. And I realized, internal work, a lot of meditation, a lot of positive affirmations, a lot of soul searching, and I realized that I do have a story to tell. And it was one that I was hiding for many, many years. And I was afraid to tell it. And I was avoiding telling it. But I feel like it has to be told now because it is the reason why I'm doing the whole Own Your Square. And it has to do with fear of showing up. So yes, I've lived my life in front of a camera. But there was a time in my life when I was on television news where I was so fearful to go on camera. I had severe anxiety. I was afraid to show up, and I was afraid to open my mouth. Can you imagine? You're on television news and you're there and you have to do a live shot. And I was hiding it from everybody. I was faking it. I was, showing up and shaking, and my throat was getting dry and my heart was beating really fast. I felt fraudulent. I felt that, who am I to get up and tell the news? And so I had all these things going on. So I suffered severely from anxiety, and I ended up getting out of the news business because of it. But did anyone know that story? No, well, maybe a few people, but I kept it hidden. I kept it very close to the vest because I was so ashamed, because I was supposed to be a professional. And here I was showing up on television, and I was afraid of going on TV. I was having severe stage fright. So can you imagine having to, go to Long Island and cover the plane crashes, or cover the Twin Towers attack, or cover any other disaster, and you being the lead story, and you having to show up, like this, and shaking, and no amount of, trouble dolls and psychotherapy and self-talk helped me. None of that helped me during the time. I was in a crisis mode. So I decided to leave the news business, and I stayed silent. I stayed away from the camera for a while. I still interviewed people on camera. I never did live shots. I ran away from the camera because I was like, I'm not doing that. That's too scary. I can't trust myself. I absolutely can't trust myself on camera. So I'm going to just decline every opportunity to go on live. And I did that. And I hid under a rock. I hid under a giant rock. And what that did was really limit my life. It limited my professional life. It even spilled over into my personal life. And I remember even going to parties and being afraid to speak in small groups of people because I was afraid I was going to get choked up. Swallow. People are going to notice that I'm nervous. Wow, does she have a confidence issue? So all these things happen. And so I really want people to know that it's okay to be afraid to be seen. It is okay to be fearful of things in life. And it is okay to not be, a master at everything, right? To be human, to be authentic. So I went through this whole thing where I was hiding under a rock until right before the pandemic. And it was the October before the pandemic began. And I said, you know what? I think I want to write an online course, and I'm going to write a course to help people get confident on camera because I know so much about this and it feels like right, So I started writing it. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell my story. I've got to get out there. I got to tell my story. So I started going on Facebook Live, several times a week, because during the pandemic, I was living here mostly alone, right? Not seeing friends. We were shuttered in. And the only way that I could communicate with people was to go on Facebook Live and feel like, I had a community. So I started talking about this. I started talking about confidence, and I started sharing my story. And every time I shared my story, it just felt so empowering. And I wasn't ashamed anymore. I was so proud to share my story of fear and to say, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, every time before I go on camera, I get nervous. I get a dry throat, right? But I don't let that fear take me over. I take over that fear and I crush it down. And I admit to my fear, right? And that's part of it is, I'm showing up authentically as myself now. And before I was myself, but maybe I was the announcer, or maybe I was the expert, or maybe I was the interviewer. Now I'm just me being me, and it's so liberating. And so that's so much what I want for other people, is to be able to break free from their fear and say, hey, it's okay that I'm scared. So I started doing the Facebook Lives and started doing interviews and started telling my story. And sometimes I would cry when I would tell my story. I do a lot of public speaking at corporations and teaching people camera confidence and how to connect on camera. And I would get into that story. And a couple of times, I would tear up, but that's just me being authentically me. And the more I can do that, and the more other people can do that when they go on video, is to drop all of the preconceived notions of who they think they should be and just be themselves. Oh boy, your story is going to resonate. Your story is going to reach others. Your story is going to help others. Your story is going to have the ability to change lives. And so, you know what? I was walking around that field with my dog, Bucky, year after year after year after year. And it was like, it was a slow, it was a slow build, a slow burn. And I was like, what value do I have to share? What value, what value, what value? And as I started to layer on all of these reasons, putting the pieces together, because I buried all of this in my subconscious mind because I didn't want to think about that fear. That fear was absolutely terrifying. And it was life changing. And it resulted in a lot of decisions that I made in my life for over 20 years. But I will tell you that the moment that I decided that I'm going to break free from this, it started to change everything in my life. And my confidence just shot up, my authenticity shot up, and my ability to touch other lives. And for people to really say, Pat, thank you so much for sharing that story. Because if you can tell your story authentically, other people can definitely see their story in your story. And that is what connects us. And that is why I'm really encouraging people to share their stories, because everybody has an individual path in life. And your story is very different than my story. And that is a beautiful thing. No two people have the same story. Now, I used to get caught up in the fact that I wanted to be just like Diane Sawyer. I wanted to be just like, Peter Jennings. I wanted to be just like Oprah Winfrey, right? I wanted to emulate. I wanted to copy these people because that's what I thought I had to do to be professional and successful. But what I didn't realize was that I should have just been myself all along, because that is the most successful version of me. And that's a beautiful thing. And I want to encourage other people to exploit the wonderful parts of yourself, because you guys have value to share. I've got value to share. Cameron, you have value to share. We all have value to share. And I know that each and every one of us has a story inside of us that they want to tell. There is something, whether it's an issue, a story, a value, something that they can share. And your sharing of your story is definitely going to help others. So that's what my mission is in owning your square. It's having the ability to show up, not just physically, not just emotionally, right? It's showing up with every single piece of your body, your mind, your spirit, your energy, the wonderful parts that make you, you. So you can show up wholeheartedly and be dimensional, not be flat. Reach in, zoom in, and get to that part that is just so beautiful and so tender and so authentic. And I hope that you have the courage to bring your story out, because I got the courage to bring mine out, and I'm psyched. And if you'll notice, Cameron, I leave the flubs in. I don't take those flubs out. If I misspeak, I embrace it. That's who I am. Okay? If I make a mistake, I forgive myself. I move on. I'm not going to beat myself up. When I was standing on those street corners with my 30 seconds, in TV news, it was like, let's go to Pat Laurie now, live on the street corner. And if I messed up one word, I would beat myself up. Oh my gosh, I'm not a professional. Who am I, right? Darn, you got to forgive yourself. So that's my story, Cameron. Long-winded as it is.
No. I think that was great. And I think that gave a lot of insight into, because I think seeing somebody like yourself who comes across very well on camera, which I got to give you credit. I do a lot of these interviews with folks, and I got to say you're somebody that brings a lot of experience, and not to put anybody down, but I get some people on this show where I feel like this is a really good opportunity. There's maybe not a lot of other opportunities like it coming for them, and they're logging in later than what I asked. Pat showed up before, the time that she was supposed to be. And it makes a big difference. We went through a technical issue. There's a lot to be said for preparation. And then once you got it and you're going, whether you prepared a lot or not, putting it out there, leaving it all on the field, playing hard, and just showing up. I mean, all the different cliche kind of things, but that authenticity that you were talking about in your performance, just being real. I think, people get into these voices and these personas. And I love that you were talking about the idea of being the presenter and not being an actual, right? You're taking on a role,
Yeah.
you're acting because you're this is Cameron Toth, and I am reporting the news tonight, and I'm very serious, and I enunciate every single word, and right, that because it's important too. I mean, and maybe for something that you're doing, you need to be the Morgan Freeman voiceover, and that's appropriate. But in terms of having conversation, what we're doing today, in terms of putting yourself out on social media, in terms of showing up to a meeting, in your company, I think these are all places where people are looking for the person, Pat Lorre, Cameron Toth, not the actor, the voiceover artist, that person, that non-entity to show up. People want to connect with people, which is, I think, a big part of marketing and a big part of showing up, right? That's what it is, right? I'm showing up and showing you that I'm an actual person, not a logo, not necessarily a brand per se, but an actual person that you can interact with and deal with. I wanted to talk to you because we have some bullet points for people to take away from this. And you just told your story. You talked about the value of what that has meant for you and what it potentially could mean to other people. But what are your tips for people that are starting on this journey, that are just getting comfortable? And I promote this a lot in the work that I'm doing, not only through this show, but through the networking event that I have every Tuesday at 12. So for everybody that's on this Tuesday, 12 Eastern, you're showing up for networking by BizDev Live. And then on Wednesday at 12 p.m., you're showing up for Own Your Square. Or actually, what's the name of your show?
Yeah, so Wednesday at noon, it's called Center Square.
Center Square. So Wednesday at noon, you're showing up on Pat Lorre's LinkedIn for Center Square, that show. Tuesdays, you're showing up my show, right? Get those plugs in. But I really advocate on that show or that event that I do for networking is don't pitch me, don't pitch anyone else. Tell your story and allow those entryways in. And then I think inevitably by creating those bonds between you as you tell each other your story, now there's all these entryways. Oh, you're into that. You're into that. You like doing this. It's a lot. It facilitates that relationship building and relationship marketing, which I think ends up being profitable not only for your business, but for all the different pieces of happiness in your life. So that was a long way to ask the question of what are tips that you would recommend to people in terms of telling their story?
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Well, you mentioned one of them, which was basically when you go on video, don't put on a voice. Don't be like, here I am, I'm Pat Lorre. Don't put on something. I can't tell you how many voiceover artists, and listen, I do voiceovers too, right? But I don't answer the phone like a radio announcer. Hi, this is Pat Lorre. May I help you? Put on a different voice is not going to help you come across authentically. And as Cameron mentioned, it's all about relationship building. So when you're putting that filter over your personality by putting on a voice, that is really creating distance between you and the camera. So I would say use your authentic voice. And when it comes to language, it's super important. I hear this all the time. People want to be thought of as being intelligent, right? So what they do is they make sure they have a whole list of intelligent words to refer to. But you know what? When you speak a language that doesn't resonate with your audience, you're not going to sound intelligent. You're just going to alienate the audience. Third tip would be remind your 15-year-old not to walk through the front door. No matter how many times you tell them, so obviously find an area, a quiet area of your home. But I think the biggest mistake people make is that, there's a lot of tech mistakes that people make, but it's showing up and being, asking yourself, who do I want to be on video? How can I show up authentically, right? What's my intention really for going on video? And hopefully your intention is not to sell something. Hopefully your intention is to help somebody with something. But I think really using your authentic voice and using the language that you speak every day, 'cause I interview a lot of people, right? And so they always want to impress me. And I say, don't try to impress people, because when you try to do that, you totally alienate people. So those are just a couple of tips. I mean, I have so many tips that we could go through.
Yeah, I love that though. Like, if you're breaking out the big words for the interview, you probably lost people and it's not letting people in. I think that's a great example. I just wanted to kind of speak to the noise because I think people like, where we are as a society right now, I think people are a lot more forgiving of dogs, kids, all that kind of stuff, which is great for, I know I feel weird saying work-life balance because so many people have different takes on that there's no such thing as balance. But the idea that we all have lives beyond our work. And so the normalizing, because I think for a long time before the advent of TV and all that, it was never a question that life would be going on around you. But as soon as you got into, even going to radio, right? Obviously we know, and this is something that I think is really important for folks that are putting anything out on social in terms of promoting their business or they're, in a networking meeting, the audio is more important than the video, right? Because people will be less patient with poor audio than poor video.
Oh, for sure.
I think Zoom has been a great example of how they've prioritized the audio experience over the video experience. So just understanding that piece of it, because if you got the washing machine going behind you, that sort of becomes unacceptable versus kids checking in and out of the the room or whatever. Like we all get it. Like, I mean,
on a break.
I have my children coming in through the door right now. So, what am I going to tell them? Like, go climb through the third floor window? Like, what are you going to do? Right? You gotta work from someplace, and we don't have a separate studio. And how many people have that? I mean, it's nice if you have it, but how many people have the ability to put a separate studio for everything that they do? And then who wants to be closed into a box of a room to most of their life? Right?
I'm all about that. But you know what? You're right. People can forgive a lot of things, but if they can't hear you, they will not forgive that because they won't be able to understand what the heck you're saying. So, but another thing that I find kind of annoying is that people just don't know how to light their shot. People do not know the value of good lighting. Right now, I'm sitting opposite a window and you can see that I'm completely evenly lit, right? And you can see the framing of my shot. So there's not a lot of headroom, which is like that much space above my shot. Like this would be poor framing, right? But this is better framing. Aw, my stepmom Jo says she's so proud of me for my passion, my dedication. I just had to read that. And that is so
no worries.
And my stepmom, she's a wonderful mentor and also incredible career woman and empowering, and I have a lot of empowering women in my life. And, I have to say, stick with those people that lift you up. Right. So a little shout out to Jo. But I think that when you're going on camera, make sure that you're centered in your square, right? So you don't have a lot of headroom and that your face is lit, because if your face isn't lit, people aren't going to be able to connect with you because it's all in the eyes, right? So it's that eye contact. So that's another huge thing. People don't know where the heck to look when they go on camera. They're like looking at the screen or looking at their own image. But no, you need to lock it and load it right on that camera, because that's how you're going to connect. And then the other thing that I always encourage is the use of your hands. It's so funny because when you see me on Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live or YouTube Live and you have the volume down, I'm like, and I'm a proud girl, and I'm like, taking out the ukulele.
Love it.
And that's what gets me into just be yourself on video. Take chances. Don't just be so buttoned up. So, okay. So deliberately today, I wore this jean jacket with this necklace and a blouse underneath. Now, before that, I put on a dress, right? And I was like, no, I said, I want to just be relaxed. I want to be myself. This is who I am. I'm a casual type of girl. I'm just like your everyday kind of person. And, if I was doing a corporate, maybe I would punch it up a notch. I just want to be myself, though. I'm trying to find my own style and what I feel comfortable in. So I think that that's important to, feel comfortable in what you're wearing, because that's going to help your confidence. That's totally.
I think Pat Lorre secretly read my mind and knew that I was forsaking my normal pink shirt and pink tie, and I put on my blue shirt and my blue tie, really going outside the box here today
I
and
love it.
flipping it up.
Flip it up. Well, you look great. And you always dress, I typically recommend people, dress a little bit better, for the camera, right? And you always dress it up. But I guess it really depends on what the occasion is, and it depends if you're doing a presentation. Obviously, you're going to, dial it up a notch. In this case, I'm being interviewed. I just want to be comfortable. I want to be myself. I want to be my authentic self. So I felt like this resonated with me today.
I'll throw my 2 cents in here because I think, one of the challenges with the way that I dress is the potential to make people feel uncomfortable. I'm inside of a networking meeting and I'm really dressed up. And so people sort of, I think sometimes, because I don't feel it, because for me, I put on my suit, not as because I'm dressing up for anybody, but this is my armor. This is my, if I'm going out into battle, right? This is what I wear. And I consider getting into my day, that might be a little bit of a tough bit of thought process for somebody. But as I get into my day, as I get into my desk, there's a whole nother attitude for me if I get to my desk and I'm in a sweatshirt and jeans. I'm actually wearing jeans right now. It is a party down below, but the idea that I feel good when I have a certain style or look going on, it makes me have a different mental attitude. And so that's what dressing up for me is about. Obviously, I like showing up and being sharp for folks. I think it shows that there's a certain amount of respect. And for me, the only time I get on and maybe I'm a little bit like, wow, maybe somebody could have shown up a little bit better, is a lot of things that I talk to about, like with my hospitality staff, is just good hygiene, right? Just making sure that the hair is combed and that the face is clean. For my guys, that might mean, whether it's a full shave or just making sure things are the same length. But
Yeah.
I think there's just that bit, obviously lighting plays into it. Having your scenery set, that sort of thing.
Lighting is huge, though. Cameron, lighting is huge because I can tell you right now. Now
I want to see your eyes, right? And you do a great job of showing me your eyeballs, right? That kind of thing.
But I have 2 lights on right now.
Yeah.
And actually I have 3 lights on me right now. And it is a bright day in my office, but I want even more light because that is going to be more flattering for me. And when you start to have shadows creep in and you start to see creases and all these things, that can really mess with your confidence and your self-esteem. So, this happened to me yesterday. I was doing my show and I was like, oh my God, I don't like my shot, and there's a bit of vanity that comes into play here because you know what, if you don't feel good, like you feel good in your jeans, and I'm wearing jeans and I'm wearing heels right now, right? I just want to be comfortable, but I'm feeling empowered. Yes. You're not going to do as good as a job that if you're slouchy and if you're, if you're not sort of like feeling good about what the clothes that you're in, the skin that you're in, and your self-care, because self-care is not selfish. It's important.
I love the empowered word, right? Because that's what I'm doing with my dress, is empowering myself. So that's, I think, the most important thing is people are getting ready to kind of present themselves on camera. What are they doing to empower them? Maybe it's a t-shirt and jeans and not shaving. Maybe that's what empowers them and that's what lets them be their full authentic self. You got somebody like a Gary Vee, and that's kind of what he's got going on. And I don't think anybody would say he's not being authentic and not showing up as his full self on camera, right?
Absolutely. And, you just have to represent your brand. You are in charge of your brand, and whether or not you work for a company or if you're self-employed, you are your own brand. You take that brand with you every single job and station in life that you travel to. And so you need to own that brand. You need to take a hold of that brand and say, like, how do I want to represent, myself in the world, right? And so for many, many years as a news reporter, you can go up in my closet and I've got the red blazer, the green blazer, the blue blazer, I'm the bright color, the color bars basically. But, and I love wearing those things because I usually wear really bright colors. But, this is also part of who I am because I've relaxed things a little bit, as I'm moving through life and as I'm trying to teach others to relax and be themselves as well.
So expand on that, because I know one of the bullet point takeaways that we wanted to give people for this show was reinventing themselves, right? The power to
Oh,
reinvent themselves. You talked about bright colors. How should people be experimenting at reinventing themselves during this time and going forward?
okay, thank you for bringing that up because last year was very hard. So even though I had just started, I just released my online course on camera confidence. My business for 25 years has and still is video production. So when the pandemic hit about a year ago today, if not to the day, right? The week later, all my video gigs, all my, award shows and corporate video productions were all canceled. It was like, sorry, Pat, the world is shutting down. We decided that, we're not going to do the production this year. So all of a sudden my income was like, phew, fell off a cliff, just like a lot of people's incomes fell off a cliff. And so I said, wow, I really need to, when that happens, like through the years, I've had so many ups and downs with business. But as an entrepreneur, right, and a solopreneur, and someone that has to wake up every day and be accountable to themselves, you got to constantly reinvent yourself every single day. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I started going on social media, doing live shots, doing videos, putting myself out there, giving people video tips, running downtown, talking to like shop owners, seeing what they were doing with, COVID and how they were allowing people to shop in their stores remotely. And I went out and I did, I just dug into who I was, right? So I would totally encourage you to dig into who you are and what lights you up. So it wasn't about the money because I wasn't making any money. I was going out there and I was doing stories and I was speaking and I was exploring. And I want you to explore too, because there is wonder in exploring. You never know where it's going to lead. So, I was doing this for many months and I was reinventing and I was creating, pop-up courses and I was speaking and people were asking me to speak left and right and, at chamber meetings. And so this was like a whole new chapter in my life, this professional speaking bit. And I started to just love it. I had this vision 3 years ago when I was at this Tony Robbins, it was actually 4 years ago. I was at a Tony Robbins weekend conference and it was like Marcus Lemonis was there and Tom Brady was there and a lot of big, heavy hitters. It was like a motivational weekend. And I remember I saw someone on stage and I said, oh my gosh, that's where I want to be. I want to be that person on stage. I think I want to be a professional speaker. So guess what? COVID was very kind to me because I was able to practice my craft. And I think you can practice things. You can take little chances, right? You can step outside of that comfort zone and not just say that you're going to step outside of the comfort zone, but actually do it, right? And so that's what I'm so proud of myself over last year is just the ability to wake up and be like, you know what? Today's an opportunity to do something new or just to try something new, right? And we still all have that opportunity because we're living in this, like we're coming out of the pandemic, right? We're still sort of in this hybrid mode. And things shifted. Then some of my corporate clients came back and now we're doing virtual productions, which is so awesome. And, then we learned new ways to produce videos where we just interview people on Zoom. And then, it's all in the editing and the fine, graphics and the music and the production. So that was interesting because I had never done a Zoom production before, but now we're doing them all the time. So it's just ways to reactivate your brain and say, what are the skills that I have and how can I exploit those skills and really sort of cultivate, a new me going forward and not to have huge expectations, but just to take little, bite-sized pieces and bite-sized steps along the way, because that will build momentum and that will get you places.
I love that. I'm going to throw this sample life, reinvent yourself, right? I think that's the idea. And I think it's come up as I do these interviews, it's always, we're talking about growth and we're talking about, progressing and making moves that benefit not only your company, your product, your service, but yourself, because as you improve yourself, you're able to do a lot more, produce a lot more, maybe be a lot happier in what you're doing. And so that sampling piece of it of, let me try this, let me try, oh, you know what? I really like doing that. Let me focus on that because I'm finding joy in it. And I think whenever we're finding joy in what we're doing, we get suddenly the productivity just shoots. I think about stories like Bill Gates where, they started doing something and they enjoyed it and he got really good at computers because he was enjoying it. He was young. And a lot of stories are like that because people spend enormous amounts of hours on things when they're young. But that idea that we can do that as we get older, a lot of people feel stuck, and they're doing things that they have been doing because they feel like they have to do it to make the income, that sort of thing.
I'm
What
so
do
glad you
you
mentioned
example?
that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Cameron, because I'm proud of myself. I'm a woman over 50. I'm admitting it, and I'm proud to admit that I am over 50. And my entire life, when I was 29, I started my video production company. And my entire life, I have gone after it as reinventing. And I get so upset when I hear people put themselves in the victim mode, in the stuck mode, in the I wish, if only if mode, because that mode will get you nowhere. So it's like you got to get out of that mode and you got to start training your brain and changing your brain. Because if you are stuck and you're unhappy in what you're doing, there is always another option. There is always a side hustle that you can start, and it can build, and it can be wondrous. And wouldn't that be satisfying? Wouldn't that be a satisfying life to actually be doing something that you love to be doing? And when you do something that you love doing, it's really not work. And I know people get really aggravated probably hearing that. Oh, shut up, Pat. You're so freaking annoying. But it is the truth. I love what I do, and I'm going to continue doing it. And, God willing, I will be able to, keep doing what I love for the rest of my life. And when you live what you love, it's a lovely life.
I would love to hear from folks that are watching this, whether you're viewing live with us, please let us know where you're viewing from. We want your comments. We want your questions, especially if we want advice about showing up and owning your square. We want to hear from you and love to help you right now in the moment. If you have a very specific question, the more specific, the better, because the more we're able to help your situation, there's somebody else that's watching that would need that very same advice. The piece of somebody actually enjoying what they do, I got to say, I really enjoy hearing from people that are excited and passionate about what they do. I think so often people are false in it. And what I mean by that is that there's somebody that's selling something. And so they're saying, I am so over the moon with doing this because I have this product or course that's going to help you love this as much. And then I'm like, I'm out, right? Like I just don't, but I genuinely love hearing from people. We have these career days with students in the city, part of this nonprofit I'm part of called soundbusiness.org. And we'll have professionals there, and they may be in banking, or they may be in design, or they might be in whatever specific career, tech, theater, just so many different folks, lawyers, teachers. And you get a wide range of people that, there's not everybody, but there's a wide group of people within that say they absolutely love what they do. And it comes from a place of genuine. They're not selling you on trying to be a teacher or a banker or whatever. They're saying, I really like doing this, and here's why. And it's so inspiring. It's so exciting because you see that they've found something that really lights them up from the inside. And I don't ever get tired of hearing somebody saying they're excited about what they do, unless that's immediately followed with, and this is how I can teach you to be excited about it as well, right? Like I think that we all heard that, infomercial piece too many times. And I think that's where we sort of start doubting ourselves if we get happy doing something that we might not want to share it because we've been personally turned off by that. But man, you find something that lights you up inside, man, share that with the world, because I think people need to hear that you can be happy doing what you are doing, right? I think there's so many people that, they found a lane. I know I certainly did that in starting up my own company. It's a great company. I enjoy the work. But if it was like centered around my why and all that, I would have opened up the hospitality channel. I'd be interviewing somebody today on, how to design their house or how to design a table, how to design an event. I wouldn't be talking to Pat Laurie about business and developing yourself and your team and your abilities and that sort of thing, because I really am passionate about providing opportunity and education to people. So that's what I'm about. So find that thing that you're excited about, sample, taste it, go out and do it. I think that's a huge deal. And I love your vulnerability and sharing your story because I think that'll help motivate somebody else. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that piece of
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I think that, you hit the nail on the head when you said, when you see that spark in someone, and really it's all about the energy that you emanate when you go on video. So I would tell people when they go on camera, right, you can tell if someone's genuinely lit up about something or if someone is just, realizes that they're just going through the motions, right? But when you can, and you
And that's where it feels icky.
that's where it feels disgusting, right?
Yeah.
That's where it feels like you're being sold to, but really, I think if you can just go on and you can have that energy of excitement, right? And that intention, people will pick up on that energy. People will absolutely pick up on that energy. And you need to amp up your energy when you go on camera. That's another thing. There is a bit of a disconnect, right? That falls off between here and, 14 inches away. You need to amp it up because otherwise you're going to fall flat, right? And on video, you need to pop out, right? You can't just be, one dimensional. You need to pop out of the screen. So you need to really harness that energy and take control of that energy. But I think, I think I'm just very grateful, I want to say, because a lot of people do struggle with they're doing something or they're trying to find the next thing to do in their lives. What's going to be the next chapter? Or maybe they've been laid off and maybe they just believe, you know what? It's time for me to do something else, but I just don't know what that is. Now, I have a lot of friends that are going through career changes or they're going through life changes and saying, what's going to be the next chapter? But I just want to, let people keep discovering, keep that discovery process open. Call people, have 20-minute Zoom conversations, like act as the reporter, ask people questions. What's your day like? What is the job like? Whatever you're fascinated with, do a little research. I mean, that's what I do. And for my book too, I'm calling people up and I'm phoning people and I'm like, listen, I've got all my points, but I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. I'd love to pick your brain and get some insight. And, the doors that open up from there are so wonderful, right? And just have that open mind, because I think that you really can do whatever the heck you want to do. You absolutely can do whatever you want to do. And if you're interested in telling your story, I would totally encourage you to do that, because once you can share your story and share your why, that's going to really sort of light you up. But you can think about all these things, but without taking any action, it goes nowhere, right? So you need to sort of like set those steps in motion and have a little plan, have a daily plan for yourself, set like a 30-day goal in 30 days.
So that brings us to our final, right? That key takeaway here, collaborating with others. I just wanted to kind of put that piece in there in terms of asking people for advice versus necessarily asking for a direct sale or something like that. If you come to me, you come to Pat, and you're saying, hey, I need some advice or I'd love some direction authentically. I think, again, it goes back to the, I'm so happy doing what I do. And I think we've all seen like the Instagram and social media sellers of the rich and famous kind of thing. They're stepping out of a sports car, right? That kind of thing. For you to approach them and ask for advice, they're probably not going to be open. But for true professionals that, are growth minded, that are trying to do this thing, are giving oriented, you can approach them and ask for advice. And almost always you're going to be met with a very, receptive, timing is always key, I would say. Somebody's walking out of the bathroom, walking out of a meeting, wherever they are in the world, if they're busy in the moment, in the middle of their day, and a message, you may need to follow up. I wouldn't say if you send that first message and you don't get an immediate response, that means nobody's trying to pay attention to you, right? Timing is always key, but asking people for advice is a lot easier than asking for business. And I think it's one of the great ways to collaborate with people. But I know you want to talk about this, collaborating with others, being open. I'd love you to talk about the meditate piece of it and taking action.
Oh, the meditation is very important. I mean, that's how this whole journey started. Was I was, walking around, and my friend Tara was like, maybe you you want to listen to like these meditations, and she would send me these meditations to listen to. And I would be like, it would really help just relax me as I was walking. It was a walking meditation, right? You don't always have to just sit there in silence and close your eyes. You can do walking meditations. And, they really have to like calm your mind. And then, walking around and really thinking, for some reason, when I'm walking and listening, it's good. It's like I'm getting into a flow, right? So meditation is super important, and really writing down. One year I wrote down 101 things I wanted to actually manifest, right? And some people would say, what do you mean 101 things? How could you think of 101 things? Well, it's amazing when you start to really get detailed about what you want in life, and you can set those details, how things can just sort of like spin off one another. So I wrote down like 101 things that I wanted to manifest that year. And I was just going through the list the other day, and I just started checking off. Yep, that happened, that happened, that happened. They didn't all happen in one year, but they're all slowly but surely happening. So it's like, get a hold of what you want in life. Get a real sense of what it is you want to accomplish in life. Write it down, look at it, reflect upon it. I mean, I used to write down, I wish I had it. I had a little index card, and I would look at this index card every day. It was on my desk, and it would say like, I would like to be a prolific speaker and have, be able to share my story with the world. And I looked at that every day, and I looked at that every day, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. And slowly but surely it's happening. Another thing I did, this was a Bob Proctor thing. I had an envelope, and one said riches and the other said penalties. And in one envelope, it was the riches. What riches would I be able to experience in my life if I really went for it? I'd be a storyteller. I would be able to share my spirit with the world. I would be a vlogger. I would do comedy. I did all these, what are the riches? And then what are the penalties if I don't go after this life? I have an empty life. I'm, devoid of my spirit of who I'm really, want to be. I'm living in lack, all these things. So it's like the riches and the penalties. Which envelope do you want to choose for your life? I'm choosing the riches. And I know, these are little mind hacks, but you know what? Why can't you go after anything that you want in this world? You absolutely can. It's all up to you. You have the power to go after whatever the heck you want in life. And I am still going after everything that I want to in life. And I have a long list, but I'm going after it. And I want you guys to go after your dreams. I want you to go after your dreams because they deserve to be explored. And collaboration is key. I have a lot of coaches. I have a book coach right now. I've had a spiritual coach. I've had mentors. And, it takes some money to invest in yourself if you want to make change in your life, right? Some people have fitness coaches, right? Health coaches, psychologists, whatever, business coaches. It takes money, right? It takes a little bit of money to invest in yourself because it's worth it, So there's a lot of free information out there, but I would not discount the importance of hiring a great coach to help you in the journey that you want to take, because it helps to have that guidance, to have that framework, to have, someone that's been through it before guide you through. So those are some of the things that have helped me,
I love that. And I'm part of a group called Master Networks. We had this learning tidbit this morning. And we were talking about team building and bringing people into your team and collaborating with people. So when there is a situation where it's like, okay, there's a cost associated, right? Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a admin, maybe it's somebody to come onto your team and do some of the bookkeeping, whatever that piece of it, of the business that you don't find a lot of joy from, you'd like to get it off your plate to create more time. Calculate how long it takes you to do these tasks and calculate the amount of money it costs for you. So if you were billing your time to somebody else, for you to do them compared to paying somebody else, and especially as you're bringing in revenue, I know for folks that don't have a lot of revenue coming into their business, we're in the pandemic and COVID times, challenging. Believe me, I understand. Owner of a hospitality business where live events were basically made illegal during this time, I understand. But as you are bringing revenue into your business, and you have the money to spend, this calculation is so, so important, especially for scaling your business. And the only other thing that I'll add to that, because I say it and I'll put myself on repeat because it's one of those things that I felt like I did not learn enough early on, but documenting, writing down, not only, what Pat is saying in terms of writing down what you want to manifest, but also in the daily actions of your business, writing down what you do, documenting it so that you can hand that stuff off that you don't enjoy doing. Make sure you're documenting, hand it off so that you can focus on the fun stuff and you can continue to sample, and so you don't feel stuck, right? Doing all the things, going through the action items that we went through today in terms of being able to, maybe your story is empowering other people, the opportunity to tell your story more, the ability to actually collaborate with people more because you're not stuck in the daily operations of your business. I love that.
Oh, I always, yeah. I know, virtual assistants also really help out a tremendous amount. And it takes, it takes a team of people really when you're running your business. You can't do it all yourself because, then you won't be able to be focused on the things that you really need to be focused on. But, that's a lesson to learn. Every entrepreneur is probably doing way too much, right? But
Josephine Laurie saying, I found my light after 48 years in banking. Volunteering for several nonprofit organizations has given me the opportunity to share my knowledge and my expertise. There's so many different outlets, right?
Well, you know what? I'm so glad that she brought that up because charity is very important and giving back is very important. And I spend my hours, it's very important for me to give back. But I'm not going to spend my hours, let's say, at a soup kitchen, right? Because I would rather spend my hours doing a story about the soup kitchen because that is my skill, right? So I'm going to go with what my skill is and what will benefit that organization, from me. So that's how I like to spend my time. So, over the years, I've done a lot of different stories with nonprofits and I enjoy it immensely. And it's just so fulfilling to do that. So I would encourage others to volunteer your time in the organizations that you care about, but bring your specific skill to that organization to really help them, because then it'll be effortless for you and enjoyable for you.
Yeah, bringing maximum value, right? Maximum effort, where you can actually be productive and give back in the most fulfilling way. I love that. I want folks to definitely connect with you, Pat Laurie. Who are the folks that you are really excited? Obviously, I know you'd love everybody to sort of check out the show on LinkedIn, but who are folks that you're most passionate about connecting or would love, people that maybe you're trying to reach out to further advance the things that you're trying to do to help people? Who are folks that you're trying to reach in the world?
Well, that's the question of the day, right? I love authors. I love coaches. I love people that have a message that they want to share, that have, a mission-based message that they would like to share. I think that really speaks to my heart. Of course, as a general assignment reporter and someone that has covered all kinds of stories in my life, I always have that like a sprinkler system. Like, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. I fall in love with stories and I fall in love with people and I fall in love with, even if it's something that's highly technical, that doesn't seem sexy, I'll fall in love with it because I want to find out about industries and really, get in there, right? Get in a way that I can figure out the story. So, but I love authors because, they're really passionate about sharing their new messages, right? Getting the word out about what they want to share with the world. Coaches, executives. I work with a lot of CEOs and executives because they are in a position where people are listening to them, right? So they really can have that influence. And how can you influence an audience? Well, it's all in the way that you approach the audience and the words that you write, right? Your presentation. I can't tell you how many presentations I've shaken up and said, no, get rid of that. Let's do this. So, people of influence.
I love that. And you might have heard of Thank You, Baby, as I mismanaged my mute button. I was talking to my daughter as she was going out to pick up my, talking about the life's interruptions here. I know that we'll get some authors heading your way. I actually interviewed Erica Abando. I don't know if you guys have connected, so I'll make sure I send a LinkedIn connection. So guys, if you know anybody that's kind of in that field, if you're a coach, you're an author, make sure you connect with Pat Lori and get some time on her calendar, connect. And that is what this show is all about in terms of connecting entrepreneurs and business owners with each other. Pat, closing remarks in terms of values and things that you want to sort of part to folks, and then we'll say goodbye to everybody. I think you've given a lot of value to folks today, but if there's any kind of one big tip for folks that are getting on the camera, especially for the first time, what would you tell them?
I would say believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one is going to believe in you.
Thank you so much for this, Pat. Say goodbye to everybody. I'll play us off with the Biz Dev theme.
Thanks, Cameron.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.